Yo, what's up, folks? This is Impact, and I want to welcome you back to the Hurt Business 101. Let's get right into the content of this video. Today's video, I want to address two things: fundamentals and boxing ability. The reason I bring these things up are because it's being spoken about when it comes to the Terrence Crawford versus Earl Spence Jr. fight on July the 29th. And when people making their predictions, I hear from one camp or the other, I hear, well, Earl Spence Jr. is very fundamentally sound and Terrence Crawford lacks fundamentals. That's why he'll win. And then you hear people that think Bud Crawford will win, and they'll say, well, he has boxing abilities. Earl Spence doesn't really have good boxing ability. So I think Terrence Crawford is just going to outbox him. And the take is pretty, it's just being regurgitated. One channel to the next, one person to the next, and there's no context, and it's a discredit to both guys. And I want to explain a little bit of that. So let's not focus on Earl Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford. That's not what this video is about. It's not the breakdown. It's the fundamentals and the boxing ability and how people aren't providing enough context and they're not going into it. It's a nuanced conversation. When it comes to the boxing fundamentals, I don't even have enough time in a video to explain all boxing fundamentals, but there are a lot of fundamental things in boxing because you're looking at the basics needed to perform a particular task. That's, the fundamentals. You have the basics. You also have the foundation that is built on as part of the fundamentals. And also principles. Principles are a lot of the principles in boxing are some of the most important things, and that's a lot of times when people abandon principles. That's how sometimes you see knockouts happen when somebody really abandons certain principles that you shouldn't abandon. That's how usually a lot of your highlight reel knockouts happen when somebody left principles at home. So I want to get into this. When they talk about boxing ability, they bringing up Earl Spence. They talking about his jab, talking about how he keeps a high guard and how he works his way on the inside and works the body. And then the conversation stops. Far more to boxing fundamentals than those things, and they're leaving it out. And so therefore, your reason behind picking that you're using is not really on point, and I explain why. There's so many other things that he's doing. Okay, it's foot positioning. That's part of the fundamentals, foot positioning. Not having your feet too wide. Feet stance too wide, can't get proper leverage on your punches. Feet too close together, it leads to you being knocked off balance very easily. Getting squared up. Most people in boxing understand if you get squared up, you make yourself a bigger target. Stand on a certain angle when you in your stance. It lessens the target, makes you a smaller target. Not as many openings available for the opponent. These are fundamentals that he's also showing, and also that Terrence Crawford is also showing. Also, what about some of the principles? Not pulling straight back from punches. Okay, not pulling straight back from punches. That's a principle. Principle that gets people knocked out. That's one of the fundamentals. Also, what about going out the side instead of moving straight back? That's also principle. So there's a lot of things that you could dig into when you're talking about fundamentals that people don't even bring up that both of these fighters have in abundance. When you want to talk about boxing ability, they'll say Terrence Crawford, he has far better boxing ability. He's in Earl Spence has had boxing ability. And really what they're speaking of when they say boxing ability that they really don't understand is they're really talking about a style of boxer. So it's what their interpretation of a boxer is, not really what boxing is. Boxing is hitting and not getting hit. So basically, when I look at a guy, if I determine how good of a boxer he is, I look at his transitions from offense to defense, how he's able to have a balance of offense and defense in a structured way, working behind his jab, keeping his hands up, how he does all of those basic things in the fundamentals, and he's able to transition and have a balance between all of the things. That's how I determine how good of a boxer someone is, how balanced they are. But when they look at Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence, they're really just looking at they're looking at Bud's hand speed, the way his foot movement around the ring. They're also looking at the fact that he'll slip and slide punches more so than just blocking punches. Earl Spence Jr. is more as a blocker, a parrier, or he'll catch punches and then return fire versus trying to slip and counter you with shots. That's a counter punch. That's counter punching. That's not considered just having boxing ability. That's a style of boxer. So it's always important to have a full understanding of what these things are when you're breaking them down, specifically to, this is the average fight fan, the casual boxing fan, because they're kind of leaning on guys that they believe have a vast knowledge in the subject that they don't really have a vast knowledge, and they may just have a general understanding, and they may know boxing, but some of these things is just pretty much them listening to experts, listen to people who bring them content and regurgitating it. It's important when we come on these videos to try to add some context and try to be as detailed as possible, in the short amount of time when you're doing these videos. So that's where I want to leave it at today, talking about fundamentals in boxing ability. I hope I was able to bring a little bit of clarity. We'll really dig deep into predictions and a breakdown on that particular fight at another date. And I'm thanking you guys for coming back today for another video. And remember, they say it's no business like show business, but I say it's no business like the hurt business. 1-0-1.